In this demonstration, I'm going to walk through how to set up a data pipeline to get data from one of various sources. I'm gonna use Google Analytics as the source of data into Google Sheets, and then using the Coding is for Losers Sheets add-in, push it up into BigQuery, Google BigQuery, which is a cloud database, and how to automate that to happen every day. The reason that we do this is to have BigQuery be the backend for Data Studio dashboards, and this approach is a fast and scalable way to get data from a variety of different sources. The other ingredient that I didn't mention is we use the Supermetrics Sheets add-in to get data from Google Analytics, Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and various other sources. So I'll walk through those ingredients. I've already got Supermetrics installed. I've already got the Coding is for Losers, or CIFL, add-in installed, and a BigQuery database set up. So I'm not going to re-go through those steps, but if you look at, I'll just bring up Supermetrics. So the product I'm going to be using is this Supermetrics for Google Sheets add-in, the CIFL connector for BigQuery, and I won't pull up BigQuery here. It's a several step process. If you search for Google BigQuery, there's a resource page. I'll go ahead and do that too. So if you start here, it'll walk you through the steps to get a BigQuery database set up. I would say that's the most complicated setup step. Supermetrics is super easy to install and pretty intuitive to use. The CIFL add-in is even easier to install and intuitive to use. Connecting it to your BigQuery database has a couple of steps, but setting up BigQuery is a little more technical, and I don't find the Google Cloud Platform interface is very intuitive. So if you're not too technical, you might want somebody a little technical to help set that piece up. We use G Suite, so that gives us access to some things. It's very easy for me to grant access to other people in my domain to the BigQuery database I set up. I don't actually know, if you're not a G Suite customer, are there different steps involved? Is that more complicated? As far as cost, the components here, Google Sheets is free. The Coding CIFL add-in is free. BigQuery is mostly free at the volume that we use it at. There's a really small cost for transactions. We haven't actually hit the point where we have to pay for storage, and we store a fair amount of data. So if you look under pricing, it describes what different things cost. So storage, 2 cents per gigabyte per month. We're not storing anything close to that. I mean, the amount of data where that matters at all. And a penny per 200 megabytes of streaming inserts. Loading, copying, exporting data is free. So at this point, the scale that we're using it at, I think it's less than $1 a month, and we're not doing a ton, but we're doing a bit. So essentially a negligible cost there. Supermetrics is not negligible. It is, let's see if we look at buy now. We use the Pro subscription, $69 per user per month. and I have to say, totally worth it. If you look at the number of data sources it connects to, it will save you a ton of time in figuring out how to get extract data from those sources, and I'll show you that in a second. So I already gave the sheet a name here. Make this a little bigger so it's just making the cells bigger. As I said, I've installed Supermetrics, so I'm going to go ahead and launch that, and it brings up this sidebar here. And I'll go ahead and, while I'm at it, I've already installed the CIFL connector for BigQuery. I have to, when I want to run it in a sheet, I have to install. So it's now installed, and then if I launch it, it's actually going to go ahead and create a couple more tabs in this sheet that are related to the things that it does. So ignore those for a second. I'm going to go back to bringing up the Supermetrics add-in. And I'm going to name this sheet CIFL BigQuery demo. Okay, so I have Supermetrics installed. Here's the Supermetrics sidebar. This is where I start. I've already logged in to a few different sources of data. These are steps that you would need to do. I mean, you'd actually have to log in first. So you'll see that I have a number of different data sources available to me. Just to give you an example, so here are some of the things that I could connect to. Got AdRoll, Adobe Analytics, Bing, Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, LinkedIn. We've got Twitter down here, further down. So a whole bunch of different data sources. I'm going to use Google Analytics as an example. So I'm already connected. If you look, there's a number of different Google Analytics logins that I have access to, so I could pick one of those. I'm just going to go ahead and use mine. So that's my data source, Google Analytics. And I'll pick a view. I'm going to go ahead and I'll pick the 2 Octobers. I'm going to pick this Universal Analytics All Website Data view. And for dates, I'm going to pick yesterday. Again, what I'm trying to do is create a pipeline. So what I want to do is grab the data from Google Analytics and push it up into BigQuery. And I'm going to schedule this process to run every day. So I'm picking the date range of yesterday. Okay, I've got a bunch of metrics already. So this is remembering the last time I was in here, the metrics that I chose. I'm going to get rid of these. So let's say I've got sessions, users, new users, bounces, bounce rates, average page views per session, average session length. I'm going to say just pick goal completions, all goals is another metric. And then I'm going to split by, since I'm only pulling from one view, I'll get rid of view name and view ID. We'll stick with source medium and full refer, and I'm going to go ahead and put in date as a row. I'm going to drag this over so that shows up on the left. I'm going to get rid of full refer. I don't think I need that here. Number of rows to fetch, 10,000 is fine. We're not going to have more data than that. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. The one thing, let's see, by default it has a header row. I want that. I think this all looks good. So sometimes to try to avoid Google's data sampling is a good idea. It'll slow down data fetching, but especially if you're working with a really large Google Analytics account, you might get a lot of sampling, and you'll find that the data that Supermetrics pulls doesn't exactly match what you see in Google Analytics. For my purposes right now, I'm not gonna select that. One weird important thing is put your cursor in the upper left-hand corner when you run Supermetrics. So I'm going to go ahead and run my query. Okay, so here's what I've got. And this is, again, yesterday's data by source and medium, visits to our website. So I've got that data. The next thing I'm going to do is in Supermetrics, I'm going to go ahead and schedule refresh and emailing. So I don't actually need to email. All I want to do is refresh daily. And I'm going to start processing at 2 o'clock. This time zone is America Denver. That's good for our purposes. We're located in Denver. So I'm going to save this trigger. So now this will start running every day at 2 a.m. Close that. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to my CIFL BigQuery connector. Now I want to create a new push to BigQuery. So I'm going to give this a name. I'll call it the CIFL BigQuery demo again. And run group. So what a run group is what I might want to do is create different tabs. So I might have one tab using Supermetrics to pull data from Google Analytics, another tab for Facebook, another tab for Google Ads, another tab for Twitter, and pull all that data into different sheets. And I'm going to create pushes using the CIFL connector for each tab. And I'm going to put them all in a run group. So that run group, then I'll schedule to run every day. In this case, I'm just doing one push. I'm going to call my run group the daily push. Oops. And the input tab is the CIFL BigQuery demo. My output project, I have a couple of BigQuery projects. I'm going to pick my 2 October's BigQuery project. The output data set. So, and again, the data set is kind of more like a database. It's going to go ahead and create a table. I'll give that table a name. BigQuery demo. And it's got table auto create on. So what this is going to do is the first time it runs, it's going to go ahead and create the table. That second time it runs, it'll use the existing table. So the fastest, easiest way to do it is to set this up. If you have database skills and you want to set data types and field sizes and those sorts of things, you can do that. I found the auto create works pretty darn well. So unless you're pretty advanced in your database knowledge, I would recommend just doing the table auto create. Okay, so I'm going to create this push. And the push request successfully created and run. Okay, so that's done. And now I'm going to go to Google BigQuery. I already had this up before I started recording this demo. So right now it's showing in that torque archive, which is the BigQuery instance that I selected. It's you see I had a couple of tables already created. If I refresh here, now I've got my CIFL BigQuery demo, and this shows me, so look, it already created my table with, and it figured out that the ID should be a string, the name should be a string, time of entry is a date time, identified fields as numeric and float. I mean, honestly, this is, how freaking cool is this? If you've ever tried to do this stuff manually, it's pretty fussy figuring out different field types, making sure the data is compatible, and CIFL did all of this for me. Okay, so I can preview, and here's my data. So now the last thing I want to do is that I want to, I'm going to go ahead and schedule this to run daily. So my Supermetrics query is running at 2 a.m. So I'll go ahead and schedule. And one thing to keep in mind is the way that triggers in Google Sheets work, that if I say 3 o'clock, what that really means is sometime between 3 and 4 o'clock. So same thing with the Supermetrics query, that when I say 2 o'clock, I find it runs typically closer to 2 o'clock than 3 o'clock, but it'll happen sometime in that hour. So I'm going to close out of that. And that's it. I've created my pipeline. This is going to run every day, and it'll pull data out of Google Analytics, push it into BigQuery. I won't walk through the steps in Data Studio. I really just wanted to show how you can use Supermetrics, Sheets, and the CIFL add-in to create a data pipeline into BigQuery. The reasons why I like, there's a couple of reasons why we've moved in this direction of using BigQuery as a backend for Data Studio. For Data Studio reports, versus there are actually Supermetrics connectors. You could pull it directly from Facebook into Data Studio dashboard. I could create a Data Studio connector into Sheets. There's two reasons I like to do it this way. One is it's blazing fast. Okay, let's say 3 reasons actually. One is it's blazing fast. It's one of the fastest ways to set up a Data Studio dashboard is to have it pulling from a BigQuery database. Another is that just organizationally, we've got a number of people that are building dashboards, and life's a lot easier if there's just a single BigQuery database that you go to, you find the table that you're looking for, and you pull data from there. And I'll add a little bit of color to that in a second. So it's blazing fast, easier for people to figure out. They don't have to go look in a bunch of different places for data. And the last important reason is now all of my data is in a BigQuery database. So if I want to later on go back and create a view, let's say that I want to show for a client, like what have the last 3 years done, it's all in a database now. So I can actually run that kind of query. It exists in a place versus having to go and do monster fetches of data trying to get that data from Facebook, and maybe they don't make it available anymore and that kind of stuff. So I'm creating a data warehouse. I've got the pipeline into the warehouse. The other thing that I haven't really touched on, but is so powerful about the solution and so great about Supermetrics and CIFL, and of course BigQuery being a unbelievably scalable cloud database, is I can pull data from as many clients as I want. I just used the example of a single client, in this case us, but the way that we're doing this is we're pulling data for a whole bunch of different clients. What we do then in Data Studio is we use filters in Data Studio. So we use the same connector. So if I'm creating a dashboard for client A and client B, then I just set up a filter in Data Studio when I'm pulling that data to say I only want to show this client's data. So when you saw that first step, I got rid of the view ID and the view name when I was pulling the analytics data. Well, typically we wouldn't do that. We would include the view name and the view ID, and then we would add a filter for that, so that if I was creating a dashboard for my business, I'm going to specify that I only want to show data for that view ID, and then when I do it for another business, I specify for their view ID. Last but not least, the most coolest thing about this of all is that now I set up my dashboard that way. All I have to do is copy the dashboard, go in and edit my filters. I've got a new dashboard. How freaking sweet is that? So that's what I got. Thank you.